Good afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain, mindfulness. On today's episode, we are continuing with the articles of the Constitution, so you know what the articles are saying and why it's so important to pay attention when the current office tells you of the presidency, we don't need the Constitution. Of course you need the Constitution, and you need the Bill of Rights as well, along up there with the Declaration of Independence. That defines our countries. That's what the early forefathers of our country spent most of their lives trying to achieve from the tyranny and the lopsided economic structure supported by England. So don't forget that. And if you need a refresher course, come and visit Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where it all unfolded. It'll give you more than enough reason to want to say no to the current administration. Yes, we're protecting our Constitution of the United States. So we're on to the fifth article. What was the fifth article? The fifth article explains the amendment process, which is different and more difficult than the process for making laws. 1/2 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House of Reps vote to change the Constitution. An amendment goes to the state legislatures for a vote, yay or nay. Alternately, 2/3 of the state legislatures can submit an application to Congress, and then Congress calls a national convention at which states propose amendments. 3/4 of the state legislators or state conventions must vote in favor of an amendment to ratify it. That's why, ladies, it's so important for the Equal Rights Amendment, especially when a man of God tells you women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Hello, no, I think he's wrong opinion. Men should not be allowed to vote because they're so ancient in their thinking, they keep on putting the same person or a person with that same personality behavior back into office where they don't belong. You need to be 35, fine, but they should get rid of them by the time they hit 50. They're no use to us after 50. They have decrepit brains. Something for you to think about. Article 6. Article 6 states that federal law is supreme or higher than state and local laws. That means if a state law conflicts with a federal law takes precedence. So listen up, folks. If you don't want some of those laws to become standard in what you consider taking away your civil and personal liberties, I suggest you put younger, different people in who keep an open mind and, yes, know their world history. The last article describes the ratification process for the Constitution. It calls for special state ratifying conventions. 9 states are required to enact the Constitution. Rhode Island became the 13th state to ratify the Constitution in 1790. So, what does it say? The preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That means future generations of Americans. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. This is the preamble to the United States Constitution. Think about it. We, the people, not we under the current administration's people will blindly follow him no matter what he says or how he frames it, so that we can lose our personal freedom. Question: why bother separating yourself from church and state in England if 350 years later you're going to do exactly that? So, what was the Constitution? The Constitution united a group of states with different interests, laws, and cultures. Under America's first national government, the Articles of Confederation, the states acted together only for specific purposes. The Constitution united its citizens as members of a whole, vesting the power of the Union in the people. Without it, the American experiment might have ended as quickly as it had started. Amendments 1 through 10, and those are the Bill of Rights. And then you have the amendments 11 through 27. So what does the Constitution say? The Constitution of the United States contains a preamble and 7 articles that describe the way the government is structured and how it operates. The first 3 articles establish the 3 branches of government and their powers: legislative, which we know is Congress; executive, which is the office of the president; and judicial, which is the federal court system. A system of checks and balances prevents any one of these separate powers from becoming dominant. Opinion: you want to bet? Articles 4 through 7 describe the relationships of the states to the federal government and establishes the Constitution as the supreme law of the land, and define the amendments and ratification processes. How did it happen? Well, 3 men, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and George Washington, feared that the country might collapse after the Revolutionary War. So they went to work. And we discussed this last week. Who are the framers? You should know this. The original states, except Rhode Island, collectively appointed 70 individuals to the Constitutional Convention. A number of these individuals did not accept or could not attend, including Richard Henry Lee, Patrick Henry, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Samuel Adams, and John Hancock. In all, 55 delegates attended the Constitutional Convention session, but only 39 actually signed the constitutions. The delegates ranged in age from Jonathan Dayton, age 26, to Benjamin Franklin, age 81, who was so infirm that he had to be carried to sessions in a sedan chair. The people representing the different states were Connecticut, Oliver Ellsworth, William Samuel Johnson, Roger Sherman. Delaware, Richard Bassett, Gunning Bedford Jr., Jacob Brown, John Dickinson, George Reed. Georgia, Abraham Baldwin, William Few, William Houston, William L. Peirce. Maryland, Daniel Carroll, Daniel of St. Thomas, Jennifer, Luther Martin, James Montgomery, John F. Mercer. Massachusetts, Elbridge, Jerry, Nathan Gorham, Rufus King, Caleb Strong. New Hampshire, Nicholas Skillman, John Langdon. New Jersey, David Barely. Jonathan Dayton, William C. Houston, William Livingston, William Patterson. New York, Alexander Hamilton, John Lansing Jr., Robert Yates. North Carolina, William Blount, William R. Davey, Alexander Martin, Richard Dobbs Speight, Hugh Williamson. Pennsylvania, George Clymer, Thomas Fitzsimmons, Benjamin Franklin, Gerald Ingersoll, Thomas Mifflin, Gouverneur Morris, Robert Morris, James Wilson. Rhode Island did not send any delegates to the Constitutional Convention. South Carolina, Pierce Butler, Charles Pinckney, Charles Cotesworth Pinckney, John Rutledge. Virginia, John Blair, James Madison Jr., George Mason, James McClurg, Edmund J. Rudolph, George Washington, George Wyeth. Three documents, known collectively as the Charters of Freedom, have secured the rights of the American people for more than 2.25 centuries and are considered instrumental to the founding and the philosophy of the United States. Declaration of Independence. The Declaration expresses the ideals on which the United States was founded and the reasons for separation from Great Britain. The Constitution defines the framework of the federal government of the United States. The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. It defines citizens and state rights in relation to the government. The Rotunda for the Charter of Freedom. It's located on the upper level of the National Archives. The Rotunda for the Charter of Freedom is the permanent home of the original Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States, and Bill of Rights. Designed by architect John Russell Pope as a shrine to American democracy, the ornate rotunda with its soaring dome ceiling also features 2 murals by Barry Faulkner depicting fictional scenes of the presentations of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Okay, the Constitution of the United States, and I will put it in plainer English for those who have trouble following the minds, hearts, and words of the original forefathers. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. We have that. Section 2. The House of Reps shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state. So in other words, they have to be qualified to hold these jobs. No person shall be a rep who shall not have attained to the age of 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. Reps and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union, according to the respective number, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed 3/5 of all other persons. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's the 21st century. Without the Native Americans, we would not have won World War II. and we would already be a fascist nation, well established. Something for you to think about. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such manner as they shall by law direct. The number of reps shall not exceed 1 for every 30,000, but each state should have at least 1 rep, and until such enumeration shall be made, the state of New Hampshire shall be entitled to choose 3, Massachusetts 8, Rhode Island and President Plantations 1, Connecticut 5, New York 6, New Jersey 4, Pennsylvania 8, Delaware 1, Maryland 6, Virginia 10, North Carolina 5, South Carolina 5, and Georgia 3. When vacancies happen in the rep from any state, the executive authority thereof shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. And we will go on to section 3 of the amendment next week. Thank you very much for joining us. This program is sponsored by Conscious Research Solutions. Check us out at passionworldtalkradio.com/research made simple blog. Read up about all the pain points of learning how to do research. And if you have some to do or want to learn how, please contact us at passionworldtalkradio.com/research made simple blog and sign up for a 15-minute free consultation. Excuse me. Thank you. Also, it's brought to you by Flipping Out, How to Train Your Human, a satirical look of how to learn artificial intelligence without really trying. Go check it out. passionworldtalkradio.com/epic envision, ENVISION, capital X, capital R. And there you will find all the PDFs associated with the first 10 chapters. And the ordered page is right below. passionworldtalkradio.com/epics, EPOCH''S, truths, TRUTHS. Please read the directions carefully. Make your investment because there will be more coming in the near future. And also learn how to write satire in nonfiction. Didn't think it could happen? It's the safest way to get at your opinions, thoughts, and comments without getting into too much trouble. And to thy own voice be true. Say what you mean what you say. You can listen to this through our blog, passionworldtalkradio.com/blog. And if you want to continue to hear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but help you to a piece of toilet paper, then go over to passionworldtalkradio.com/donation. Thank you very much for listening and have a great rest of the week.